Hi everyone and welcome to a new SciCraft episode. So today we started the storage system. We work on our long-term project to get a double chest of each item. So this has been going on for quite a while and yeah, really making good progress. There's actually not that much left. So last few days we collected the double chest of dead bush and cobwebs. So those are items that you can't farm. It's a non-renewable resource. Just went to a mesa biome in a desert to collect those dead bushes. Also, fun fact, dead bushes create 10 times more often in mesa biomes than in deserts. We checked the code, or Pella did. And yeah, we looted some mine shafts. But yeah, I also need to build some obscure farms. So today, let's finally tackle the beetroots. So we got some, and also some seeds from, I think we collected in an End Fortress the first time, and yeah, actually let's use a nano farm to get the double chest. Of course, we could also make a fully automatic villager farm. It also works with beetroots, but probably had too much effort, and since beetroots are completely useless, let's use the nano farm. Actually, I need to design a new one, because those nano farms have always been a little bit flawed, especially if you have some lag. So we have one. Let's try this out if it works. Not sure. We have at the moment 4 people on the server, and here you can see that, yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So let's go to a creative world where I explain exactly what happens with those nano farms and why they sometimes don't work. Okay, so I built up this little nano farm concept here in a creative world, and I'll explain first how it works. And what's the issue? So we have 3 dispensers here. They all point on top of a farmland. There's also water back to hydrate it, and slabs here. So those slabs, they're opaque blocks in this case. They don't let light through, so it's completely dark inside, but you can still access the farmland and place seeds on top. So you could also bone meal the seeds there until the wheat has matured. And if you give a block update to the wheat block now, then it notices that it's too dark, I can't grow there, and it pops off. And then it drops wheats and seeds. So this is the first problem with this type of farm. The update order is important, because if, for example, this redstone dust, which could actually happen, updates the farmland first and then the bone meal dispenser, then the seeds pop off before it grows into wheat. So yeah, if you're not careful with those farms, then it could happen that they're locational and don't work in the first place. Then what's also kind of interesting is that it takes 2 to 4 bone meal attempts for the seeds to grow into wheat, but the chance that you actually need 4 bone meal is just 1 in 64, so it's really negligible. 4th dispenser would help a little bit, but it's not important. Can also turn this on. So as you can see, this time it doesn't work. And the reason is I'm using just a simple clock. So this is just a observer clock, and the observer gives out a 2 game tick pulse. So you get a block update when the dispensers are activated, which causes the wheat to pop off. But also you have the off pulse 2 game ticks later, and this also causes the wheat to pop. So if you place your seeds in a game tick after those dispensers fired, then the seeds are immediately removed again by the off pulse update. And sometimes you're lucky and it would work, so in this case, but if you place it in the wrong moment, then it doesn't work. So of course, if you have steady 20 TPS, then it's no problem at all. You could just try it a few times until you get into right rhythm. But if your server doesn't run at 20 TPS, then you always switch between the farm working and not working. So you have the Nano 6-bit mod installed, so I set the tick rate to 13. And now it would work, and then again not work, and so on. And this was quite annoying. So it's really bad if you have a lot of lag on the server, and it just takes so much longer to get our beetroots. So I actually tried this a few days ago and was just frustrated by this nano farm. actually found a way to fix this, but it requires some effort. So the idea to make the nano farm lag-proof is using 0 ticks. If the off pulse happens in the same tick as the on pulse, there's actually no point where the seeds could get destroyed before they would get bone mealed again. So that was my first try, and this already actually works, but it was locational. So this is a dual edge 0 tick pulse generator. If I turn this on, let's try this out, then as you can see, you get a wheat every time. So this works. But I built this first in a different location, and then I actually had the issue that in one location the redstone update order was not in my favor. So redstone dust is horribly unreliable when it comes to this. So the farmland got updated before the bone meal dispensers, and the wheat popped off. This happened here, so yeah, both pistons are extended at the same time, but the redstone, the piston of the redstone block just a little bit later. So first there's a connection here between the redstone dust lines, this turns on, and then the redstone block moves away and it turns on off again in one game tick. But there are two power sources. So here you have the first one, and at the retraction basically the same happens. First we retract the slime block, and the redstone wires connect, then we also retract the redstone block, and we get the 0 tick pulse. But the update order is actually different in the other example that I built earlier, and it worked for one of those locations where we powered the redstone dust, but not for the other. So yeah, using a concept that uses redstone dust is locational. Sometimes you could get lucky, but often you're not. So then, yeah, my idea was to not use any redstone dust, but then it gets a bit more complicated, because you need to still update the farmland in the same game tick, but just a little bit later, and doing this without redstone dust, yeah, that requires some effort. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to use observer 0 tick generators. So the observer would only power the bone meal dispenser, but not update the farmland. There's a separate observer 0 tick pulse generator at the top that powers this block here, which powers the rail, which updates the wheat block below, but a little bit later. So you could achieve this by doing an update chain. So the lower ones have an update chain of 2. First this piston activates, and then it updates the neighboring pistons one block event later. But on top we have a chain of 3, and it's just one block event later. This makes sure that the wheat is updated after the bone meal attempt happened, but still in the same game tick, of course. The issue with this system here would actually work, but it's a bit too slow. So it only activates every 8 game ticks. You can't make this really much faster, but you need to activate it every 4 game ticks. So I can also show you that it works. Maybe turn the sound a bit lower. Yeah, it's better. So you can see this works. Let's clear the inventory, and we get a wheat every time, but just every second time. So we have to make this faster, and basically we have to double it up. So what we could also do is add another clock, which would power servers from the side here, and so on. And also at the top we need a second piston that powers the block, and that's what I did over there already. So you can't really call this nano farm anymore. Is it? So this is the version that works 100% of the time now. It's completely lag fail proof. Let's turn this on. So we have pistons here and there, and also 2 at the top. So I didn't care how large it is, just wanted to have something first that works. But as you can see here, let's clear the inventory again. So we get a wheat every time now. If there's bone meal actually in those. Oh, that was a ghost item. Ah. Well, sometimes happens. Okay, that freaked me out a little bit. As you can see, it always works. Could also set the tick rate lower again. Let's do 8. Of course, then the whole server is slower, but it would still produce wheat. As you can see, it's steady. I always get one. Methods and I spent about 45 minutes on it, and we went from this monster here to this farm, which you could call a nano farm again. It's not that large, but it still has the same functionality, so it's the lag-proof nano farm. So, doesn't matter now, when you start placing the seeds, it would always work. So I already tried this a lot, always get the wheat, no matter what I do. Okay, so how does this work? Here we have a 0-tick pulse generator. We push the observer block back and forth, and again give the updates via rail to the wheat block at the bottom. And we actually don't need 0-tick pulses to power the dispensers. We could also use the 2 game-tick pulses, but since they don't update the farmland, yeah, it doesn't matter. But that's why we don't need a 0-tick pulse there. Yeah, derped a little bit around here. Let's think about this. Okay, so we went from this farm that you can always place. We went to this farm from that start farm here. Yeah, so this would also work, but of course, yeah, during lag you have some issues, and sometimes if you start placing the wheat or the seeds in the wrong moment, it would just not work. Of course, not works every time, but here you go, doesn't work, and you won't have those issues with the a bit larger farm. Okay, back in survival. Let's try this out one last time. So as you can see, yeah, it doesn't work at all. Now it works a little bit, stopped working, works a little bit. That's really slow. And the lag spike. Okay. So we're gonna rip this out. Also, this old red sand converter has to go. We still have another version there, so we actually don't need 2 of those. The farm has been built up, and the red sand converter has been removed. Now let's check this farm out. So let's test it with the normal seeds first. You can turn it on here. Just place it, and as you can see, the number of wheat increases every time. You can stop it, just like in Creative. Okay, but we actually figured out that there's an issue with the beetroots. So you don't get a beetroot every time. Sometimes it just stops and it doesn't work. So we also added a 4th dispenser, and let's head back to Creative where I explain why beetroots don't work every time. Okay, so here's the thing with beetroots. They actually need more bone meal than normal seeds for wheat, to make them even more useless probably. So as you can see, I need to bone meal this 2, 3, 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 is probably the minimum. 4 times, but sometimes I even had to use bone meal 6 times, so 5, 6. And this is a bit of a problem. I guess there's a random chance that the bone meal attempt doesn't work. So most of the time you need 4 or even more. 3 is really the best, best case. Let's compare it with the normal seeds. So here you need 2 to 4, while the 4, I checked this in the code at some point, this would only happen every 64th time on average. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So I need a lot less bone meal for the normal wheat. And that's why it's actually required to at least add a 4th dispenser if you want to use the nano farm for the beetroots. So there's the chance that the plant is fully grown is just higher. What happens if you need more than 4, then the half-grown beetroot would still pop, so you waste some bone meal. So it would even be beneficial to use a 5th dispenser, which would actually be possible, because you could still reach in there. There's probably a way to, if you hold down left shift, then you could actually reach in there and still place the beetroots. Actually have some seeds here. Or does it even work? Maybe there's some angle where you could place it here. But it's not really required, as you saw earlier in survival. It still works with the beetroot. But this would be a way to optimize it even further for beetroot use. But of course, you need to power this dispenser somewhere. And we basically need another clock just to power this dispenser here. Which wouldn't be that hard actually, so we could use a yeah, such a clock here, server clock, just powered this additional 5th dispenser. It's an option, but it would be ugly, because here we have the wall more or less. So we went for the 4 dispenser version, which still works in like 85% of the cases for the beetroot, and in 100% of the cases for the wheat and their potatoes and carrots. So the 4 dispenser version is enough for our purposes. As I said, it works with potatoes, carrots, and normal wheat. Just is not perfect for the beetroots. And yeah, placing the 5th dispenser right there wouldn't be nice, because I also need to stand up there somehow for the AFK spot. So if you're a perfectionist, you could do it. But for our purposes, it's enough. So you can see, yeah, it still works fine. Probably like every 7th or 10th time, it fails. We have enough bone meal anyway, so it's not that important for us. Okay, we actually have the double chest of beetroots and beetroot seeds now. So check it out, beetroots, double chest, and also beetroot seeds. So in this episode I also want to tackle another item we don't have a double chest of yet, which is the grass. So not grass blocks, those tall grass blocks. We already have a farm for fern, and it should also work with tall grass, but I found out that there's an issue with this farm which slows it down significantly. It still kind of works, but yeah, not perfect. So just around the corner here we have the fern and tall grass AFK farm. I showed this in a previous episode. Probably could explain it again how it works. So the idea is that we have some shears on the main hand and ferns or grass in the offhand. So then we place it on the start block, and here you can see the black lines. This outlines the hitbox. And once you bone mill it, then actually the hitbox increases in size, so it gets a bit larger. You can see increased there. So the idea is to aim at the spot of dirt where the small fern doesn't intersect with the hitbox, and then bone mill it. Once it's fully grown, we could remove it again with the shears and get 2 fern items. So that was the idea. We AFK'd there. This dropper gave us new shears all the time, so we wouldn't run out. And maybe I can actually turn it on. Okay, let's get the fern in the offhand. Oh, of course, yeah. Should have filled my inventory first. So shears, we have the shears. And can I get this? Great. Okay, so I got it again. So you hold on right and left, place the little fern. Once it's getting bone milled, you remove it again. But there's an issue with the tall grass, especially when we have some lag on the server. So what also could happen is that you bone mill the tall grass, and now it's actually possible that you can place a small grass against the tall grass and replace it. In my opinion, this is a bug, but of course it reduces the efficiency of the farm quite a lot during lag, because sometimes just mess it up, and most of the time sometimes it happens that you would replace the tall grass again before you would break it with the shears, and yeah, that's not supposed to happen. So now we can't use this farm with the tall grass. It still kind of worked. I used it for 5 minutes earlier and got about half a stack, so it's not that great, especially when I was a little bit laggy. But I thought, yeah, okay, this concept is a bit flawed. Let's make a new obscure grass farm. It's actually quite a simple concept. I guess I'll head back to Creative first to show you. So back in Creative, and this is probably the simplest farm I ever made. The idea is just to have a dispenser below, bone mill some grass blocks to make grass, and you're riding in a minecart with some shears, and just have to hold down left mouse click to remove the grass again, which was created by the bone mill. Here we have some detector rails that activate the dispenser, and that's pretty much it. Super simple. Of course, you couldn't AFK for an hour because the items would despawn. Didn't add let's go to game 0. It didn't add any item collection, but as you can see, this is fast enough for our purposes. Just want to have that double chest, and this will do. Unfortunately, this doesn't work with the fern, because you can only generate grass if you bone meal the grass blocks. So we still need to use the other farm for the fern, which work quite well, but it's also a bit flawed. I might revisit the concept later. I think I didn't make a tutorial yet for this one, so yeah. You might see a tutorial popping up at some point for the hopefully lag-proof fern farm. And don't see any tutorial for this one here. This is super simple. Afterwards we just collect everything, and that's pretty much it. You also get some flowers. In case you're wondering, you need the shears to get the grass items. Otherwise, if you would use pistons or whatever, with the normal flower farm concept, you just get the seeds. So you need the shears. So you need a play interaction. So this is the little farm we built up in survival. So get in the minecart and just shear the grass. Minecart drives a bit slower than max speed, so you got enough time to reach 4 layers deep. Okay, so I'm gonna AFK a little bit, or can't really AFK because I have to change the shears every few seconds. But yeah, see, this is quite fast. We have the double chest in no time. And another item could be removed from the missing items list. So I finally got the double chest of grass. And the missing items list is actually quite small by now. So what we still need are name tags. You need about 60,000 emeralds and just trade for the name tags, which should be no problem at all. We got over 1 million emeralds. So this is just putting in the time to trade for it. Could also always, if you trade for books, we always use the name tags to reset the trades if the villager was locked. Okay, then emerald ore, this is gonna be probably the hardest one. Got almost 8 stacks now. Yeah, this is gonna be the hardest one, because you can't do anything about it other than mining. Yep. Then diamond based blocks or items. This, diamond blocks, diamonds, jukeboxes, enchanting tables, diamond ore. We need 14 shulker boxes of diamond ore to get enough, and we have about 7.5 shulker boxes of diamond ore. So we're over halfway there. I'm quite confident we reach this goal. The next item is going to be the biggest issue. It's sponges. Would be quite easy to get those. Just raid a lot of monuments, put in a few hours with the mob switch and some tricks to get to the Elder Guardians fast. And your knowledge where the sponge rooms are just takes 1 or 2 minutes to raid one of those ocean monuments by now. But we really don't want to increase the world file size, as I mentioned a few times already. So I was thinking about what to do there. One solution is duping them, but it's kind of cheaty. But it would be super simple, just put in a shulker box and dupe the shulker box with the end portal trick. But this is too cheaty for me. So we're considering capturing an Elder Guardian and do the same trick. So if we bring him down to half a heart, push him through the end portal, he would drop the item and still come out with a life on the other side. Then we could get the Elder Guardian from the end back to the overworld, and from the spawn point back to the overworld end portals, which definitely requires a lot of effort. It's probably even more effort than just raiding those monuments, and this way we could get renewable sponges. And it's still duping, but in my opinion it's less cheaty because you need to put in some effort, and this is probably the way we're gonna do it. And what's also left are the quartz based things. Yeah, quartz pillars, quartz blocks and so on. We have a few, and actually we have enough quartz by now to do this. Just need to do the crafting. Then poisonous potatoes. Just build a small farm, no problem. Clownfish, gonna be a big problem, because this was hundreds of hours of AFKing, but probably gonna build one of Gnamon's overpowered guardian farms with the portals, and this way it should be at least down to about 30 hours of AFKing if you get it to work. But this is gonna need quite some effort, need a perimeter first, but this is definitely something we plan to achieve. Then some chorus flowers, also quite easy, just AFK a little bit of the chorus fruit farm. And the mushroom blocks, also quite easy, build a farm for that. There's just one thing left which is stackable, which are the mob heads. The other mob heads, creeper, zombie, skeleton. and technically dragging. Dragging is totally not doable. I mean, as I said, we don't want to do exploring. Even the exploring would be probably too much. So no dragon heads. Also the creeper, zombie, and skeleton heads are also probably not doable. Simply because I estimated we need to AFK at a 1000 charge creeper farm for over a year. So yeah, definitely not doable. But apart from that, everything else should be achievable. High methods. Yeah, no problem at all. I'm quite sure with the next episodes I'm gonna tackle the poisonous potato and mushroom block issue, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Everything else just a matter of time. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.